everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we present this live cooking workshop with Common Threads. I am very proud to announce that 2021 marks the 100th birthday of the Harris County Public Library, and we are pleased to announce that Common Threads will be joining us each month with a recipe to match the decade that we are celebrating. Beginning next month, the Common Threads program will air every third Thursday of the month at the same time, 6:30 p.m. Common Threads is a national nonprofit that provides children and families cooking and nutritional education to encourage healthy habits that contribute to wellness. Common Threads aspires to build communities that embrace healthy cooking, healthy eating, and celebration of culture. We will be posting all of the recipe links tonight, as well as a quick survey that really helps Common Threads to understand the community, to serve you better. And so we really encourage you to fill that out. This month, we are celebrating the 1930s, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have Chef Dubraska with us tonight to demonstrate a healthy twist on typical 1930s family meals. This was the decade of the Great Depression, and food was scarce. In fact, most families had to depend on their family's gardens and stretching their food for the week. Before I invite Chef Dubraska to the stage, I did want to mention a really special virtual event. To celebrate our centennial, along with African American History Month, we will be presenting our Centennial Jubilee, along with our partners at Apollo Chambers Players. This Sunday evening, February 28th at 7 p.m. This event will feature brand new works created especially for the Harris County Public Library by composers Damian Sneed and Paul Cornish, who will present these pieces live, along with new art from Philip Fly and performances by the Houston Ebony Opera Guild. We are going to put the link to the program in the chat, so please gather the family for a night of beautiful music and art. Now, back to tonight's events. I want to encourage you throughout the presentation to post your questions in the comment section. Chef Dubraska will answer your questions throughout the program as she is able, and then again after the demonstration if time allows. Chef Dubraska is a mother of 4 and knows a thing or two about making healthy meals for a family on a budget. She has traveled all over the world and has experienced many different cultures throughout cooking and food. Her passion is educating others on healthy cooking and spreading joy and cheerfulness through her food. Please welcome Chef Dubraska from Common Threads.
Good evening, everyone. It's so wonderful to be with you all today after a week of freezing weather. And we were supposed to be here last week, last Thursday, and it wasn't happening, obviously. But I am super excited to be here today to make 2 easy, delicious dishes that won't break your budget. They are, we're celebrating the 1930s or commemorating them. And one of the characteristics of that decade was how scarce were goods for many, how many people were out of jobs after the crash in the market, and how also in 1939, the Second World War started. So we have a lot going on during that decade, and people made the best with whatever they could find. So what are we going to use today? Well, we're going to use beans. In one of the recipes, we're going to make a bean soup. And we also are going to make a lentil dish that is very dear to me because it's a Middle Eastern dish called Kushari. My husband is Lebanese. I lived in the Middle East for about 6 years. And 5 of those were in Qatar and 1 was in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. So this dish, we used to eat it a lot. And it's a very humble dish, but it's a delicious dish. So let's not be afraid of trying something new. So without further ado, let's get cooking. Let's talk a little bit about what we're gonna do. I don't know if we can post the recipe. Yes, there you are. So very simple. We have white cannellini beans. They have been rinsed. They are from the can. If you can boil your own and make your own, that's perfectly okay. We will use some chicken breast chopped. Since time is scarce, I have done that already. So we have more time to talk about other things. 2 chicken breast diced. Remember, the smaller you dice items, the faster they will cook. So that's just to keep it in mind. Remember that we're going to also take care of sanitation. So if we're going to do vegetables, we need to do vegetables in one cutting board. And if we're going to do raw meats, they're supposed to be in another cutting board. We're going to use 2 stalks of celery. We're going to chop those, a large onion, and a large can of crushed tomatoes. This is an example of the beans that we're going to be using tonight. And as spices, we're going to use a little bit of olive oil, obviously, to saute the veggies. And we're going to use some salt and pepper. Feel free to add spices. For me, spices are so important. It's a way to add flavor to any dish without adding any fat or any sugar or any additional calories to it. So it's a wonderful thing to know how to use. Okay, well, let's start chopping those veggies then. Let's see what we have here. Very important that we stabilize all our veggies when we are cutting. So I'm gonna cut this large carrot into half. We're gonna take this. Yes, absolutely, you can peel your carrots. I usually, what I do with many of my root vegetables is I scrub them very well to take all the dirt, and then I try to keep as much as possible the skin, because there is a lot of nutrition in that, a lot of fiber and good things that we shouldn't be discarding. So once we have it, look what I did. I stabilize my carrots, and we're gonna use the motion of the bear claw. So we're gonna cut, and we're gonna cut again, and we're gonna go, and we're gonna dice this very small so we can have that soup ready in no time. Then the rocking movement. You see, very, very easy. Again, we're gonna do some trimming here, and we're gonna go again. Rocking movement. So I want to ask the audience, do you have any dish that maybe your family has passed through generation and generation that comes from that 1930s, or from a time where resources were very scarce? You guys jump in. You know, I'm originally from Venezuela, so we have a lot of simple dishes that are quite economical, and they don't break a budget, and they're extremely nutritious. We use a lot of black beans in South America. We also use a lot of rice, and we even dump a little egg on top, and we love that. You have a perfect protein when you mix a bean with the rice, and well, imagine if you also add a little egg on top, it's even more. So look, for the celery, let's go back and say, you see, I make some lines along the celery stalk just to get a lot of little dice in there, and then I just go, and the rocking motion. So since time is of the essence, you saw that I have already chopped everything. I'm gonna start sauteing these things in the skillet. I'm gonna use the bigger pan. And we're gonna add just a little touch of olive oil, okay? So The recipe calls for 1 tablespoon. That's correct. We don't need more than that. Let's talk about portions, because this is very, very important. We're trying to do healthy cooking, you know. Sometimes more is not more. Sometimes more is less. So it is important that we know the difference between a serving size and a portion. Basically, when we are cooking for our family, remember that the boxes, when we buy something, it gives you like an idea of a serving size, but that serving size is for an adult, for a male, and not for a child. So we need to think about our lifestyle, what we do on a daily basis, and what our calorie intake is supposed to be. So no, we probably don't need the same calories if we have a sedentary job in an office. We don't need the same amount of calories that a man who probably is working in construction needs, or somebody who uses his body a lot of physical activity in his job. So we need to make sure that we don't do Texan size portions for everything. The recipe that I'm making right now will yield 4 portions. So if you need to reduce the recipe, well, let's do half. Well, we divide the recipe into half. Or if we need to do a double, well, we just, instead of putting 1 can of cannellini beans, we will go for 2 cans and 2 cans of tomatoes and so on. So let me get this and start sauteing. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about sanitation, because it's important. We're gonna chop now our chicken, and I love these little things here. I use them a lot. So we have a green one for vegetables, we have a yellow one for chicken, a blue one for fish, and a red one for red meat, and they are fantastic. Again, let's use the one for the chicken. Let's stabilize this. And how do you stabilize a cutting board? You either put a little paper towel that is being kind of wet. So you put a little bit of water, and then it just helps hold in place the cutting board. So let's get the chicken breast. Although I have some already cut, I'm gonna show you with 1 chicken breast what I did. So here, and we're gonna use a new knife, clean. And remember, we want this meal to be cooked fast. Yes, somebody, Laura Moore is asking if these leftovers can be frozen. Absolutely. Beans freeze really well. Stews freeze very well, and actually they tend to taste better with time. So again, the bear claw. So we're gonna use this. Look how tiny I am dicing the chicken. It can be bigger, of course it can be bigger, but I like them small because small pieces will always cook faster. So we're gonna put the chicken now in the pan, and we're gonna let this saute and caramelize and gain some flavor, and we're gonna season. Let me collect this. Look how wonderful this works. Okay, let's move this a little bit, and look, it's so nice. And let's wash this. Wash our hands always. So, and now even more important with the coronavirus. So let's add the rest of the chicken that I had already chopped. Wash hands again. I like to keep my water already boiling when I'm making a stew. It just accelerates the process. Can you all see what I'm doing here? I hope so. Okay. This stew reminds me a lot of a minestrone somehow. So the recipe calls only for black pepper and a little bit of salt. Okay, I love the flavor of the Italian herbs. So if you have some basil, some oregano, even a little bit of rosemary, you can always add that. It's what you feel more comfortable, what your taste buds call you to do. So let's keep sauteing this. We have here the salt, and let's talk about a little bit about salt and sodium in our food. You know, we use canned cannellinis for this recipe, and cannellini beans in can, obviously they have some preservatives in there. It comes with a little bit of sodium. There is always acid citric that is added to canned products. So we rinse them really well to kind of get rid of some of that. We add a little bit of salt, and then we wait and see at the end what it tastes like, because we're going to also add tomatoes. Tomatoes are acidic. They are canned tomatoes. They have a little bit of also citric acid. So we don't want to, it's much easier to add at the end than to take away. We're not going to be able to take away once we make something really salty. And besides, you know, we don't want to overdo it on the salt. So we're going to just do a little pinch. And then we'll try and see. So look at this. This is a humongous recipe. That was we cut another half of a chicken breast. So that was 2.5 chicken breasts in here. We have 2 celery stalks in here, 1 large carrot. And it just tastes amazing here. I wish we had smell-o-vision, like I think Emery used to say that. Because it smells amazing, and this is quite easy. We're gonna add now the cannellini beans. And here is my crushed tomatoes. We're gonna add those as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a cup of water. You know, we're gonna have a little bit of an evaporation here. I'm gonna also add to this a little bit of Italian herbs. You know, I have these ones. I mean, let me show you the bottle, because this reminds me so much of a minestrone. So just a little bitty there, just a little pinch, you know, and that will add layers of flavor to this. What I will always do at the end as well is, if you want to give a little bit of richness, we can add a little bit of Parmesan cheese. We're gonna chop maybe a little bit of green onions or parsley, just to give more color. Remember that one of the goals of Common Threads is to teach people, to educate people how to eat healthy meals, to contribute to wellness and a good lifestyle. The more colors that we have on a dish, the more nutritional value it will have. And the deeper the color of a vegetable, the more saturation of the color, the more vitamins that will lend. So look how colorful this is. We have green, we have red, we have white, we have orange in those carrots, we have, you know, beta carotene, and then we have the lycopene from the tomatoes, and we have that lean protein that's what we want. So let me bring some boiling water from my kettle. And, you know, always use common sense when you're cooking. You know, if you see there is that the water is too low, that it's getting too thick, well, make sure that you add a little bit more liquid. Yeah, leftovers can be frozen. Yes, we already said that earlier. Which other vegetables will go really well with these two? Any of these babies will go really well. There, look how pretty the colors we have. We can add probably yellow squash or zucchini or Mexican calabacita, and it will really add a lot of flavor. Which vegetables I really do not recommend going in here? Probably I wouldn't recommend cabbage or cauliflower or even broccoli. Why? Because they will take away a lot of the flavor from the chicken and from the beans itself. So there are some things that I will combine here, but there are some things that I probably wouldn't do. It will just completely change the recipe. Might make another kind of soup, but it won't be this recipe. So let's cover this one. We're gonna let it simmer, get some love in there, and then we will try it at the end. We're gonna get started with the other recipe, which is the kushari. And let's talk a little bit about why I joined Common Threads. Well, not only because I love cooking, but I love the fact that Common Threads brings a lot of foods from. If you go to the Common Bites page, you will find recipes from all over the world that have been adapted in a healthier way. That are still tasty and wonderful, and it's like traveling all over the world. It was a little bit like when I was a child. I had this dream of going places, and at that time it wasn't possible, but it was something that cooking meals from different places kind of transported me to that culture, to that country. So I think for children, this might be fun. Say, let's travel today to Mexico. Let's travel today to Italy, or let's travel tonight to, I don't know, India, or, well, today we're going to go to Egypt with this kushari. So I think I have another question here. Could you substitute a second kind of beans for the chicken to make it even less expensive? Absolutely. If you want to make this vegan, you can add probably, what I would do personally, I will add two different kinds of beans, maybe white and red ones, just to add more color and different layers of flavor. So I think that's probably a good thing to do. So let's change our cutting board. I'm gonna use now, because we're gonna go back and chop onions for this new dish that we're gonna do. And my little wet towel that we talked about, and I have here my green cutting board for my onions that I'm gonna cut now. And I love having also these things when we are cooking. It's important to have measuring spoons and measuring cups. Why? Because it makes our recipes more accurate, but also it helps us control many of those portions and know that what the recipe is saying, that's what we are putting inside. But if you don't have, cups at this, at any time, because you're maybe not in your own kitchen, well, it's good to use certain little tricks. And one of those is, when you are trying to eat your fruits and vegetables, if you put your fist like this, that is about 1 cup of food. One fist like this, it will be like a small, maybe baseball, like a baseball. It could be probably a small apple, as in terms of a serving of fruit. Half a cup will be probably the size of a hockey puck. My thumb, this part will be about a tablespoon, and that is in terms of maybe measuring oil or measuring peanut butter, if we don't know how much to eat. My hand, the palm of my hand, or the size of a deck of cards, should be the right portion or serving size of a protein. So just little tricks here and there that is important to know. So let's chop an onion. And I love teaching people how to chop onions. You know, onions have all those layers. And what I do, many people ask me, how do you make sure that you don't cry when I chop onions? Well, sometimes onions are strong and sometimes they're not. But something that seems to work for me is that I put the onion in cold water after I peel it for a while, and it helps. It helps a lot, and not always, but most of the time it does. I think it needs to be extremely strong of an onion to make me cry after I have soaked it in cold water. So we always keep in an onion this part, the root part. Why? Because we want to keep all those layers intact. So let's get my vegetable knife, my chef knife, and we're gonna cut the onion. Again, we're gonna stabilize the onion. So half, keeping that root. Why? Because that root, we will keep the onion from falling apart. And what we'll do now is, let's show it even better. Okay, so we will cut lines along the way. You see, onions have those lines. You can use those lines as a guide. They're fabulous. That's how I do it. And then you get really beautiful minced onion. Again, your bear cloth, remember, that doesn't change. Then we just go along those lines, and then at the end here. And what I like to do is I do 1 or 2 cuts. Remember, I don't want you to put your child to do this. You know, it's so wonderful to let your children participate in the kitchen. And there are many things that children can do, but probably the use of a knife, I will reserve that for probably an 8 to 10-year-old and above. So now we go, the bear claw again. So we're gonna go with the rocking motion. And we go. Perfect. Look. Remember, if you have the bear claw, your knuckles will stop the knife and you won't cut yourself. So very important. That was one of the things that I had to correct when I entered into culinary. I had a really poor knife skills because, you know, you get used to shopping in a certain way and then, well, you learn a better way. So I'm teaching you the better way. So, and now, and then whatever is left, we're gonna go and chop very fast. And again, let's turn the heat on. And again, a little bit of olive oil. We are gonna caramelize those onions. Remember, I already did one here. And you know, onions are lovely, they're sweet, and when you caramelize them, they just make your kitchen smell so delicious. So we're gonna use a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And why I like extra virgin olive oil? Well, because extra virgin olive oil is cold pressed usually, or most of the time, is the first oil that comes out of the olives. Is a wonderful addition to any dish, and for sauteing at not so high temperatures is perfect. You don't want to burn that olive oil. If you get the temperature extremely high, well, you oxidize and take away all the wonderful properties of the olive oil. You know, cooking with olive oil gives so much flavor than cooking with any other vegetable oil. I really like it. So let's go back to the pot. And again, you'll see how pretty neat, huh? And So let this get some color. And for this recipe, can we put the recipe on the... Yes, no, that's the bean soup. Let's go to the kushari now. Yeah, let's wait and see. There you go. So very economical again. We are in the 1930s. We're trying to cook meals that will feed a ton of people, that won't break your budget, that are still nutritious. So something that I want to tell you about kushari, this is a dish from Egypt, actually. In the Middle East, we have different versions. In Lebanon, there is one similar called mjadra, and it's only rice and lentils, like this one, actually. The traditional kushari, I always say it's like a bomb, because it has rice, it has beans, it has pasta, and it has like a sauce, a spicy sauce in it. And it's something that many of the construction workers tend to eat, because it fills their tummy, and allows them to do a whole day of work with a full nutrition. So we're gonna let these onions caramelize. There is not much we can do here. We have here some lentils that we're gonna add in a little bit. And we have the brown rice. I have my hot water already in the kettle. And we'll have to just wait. Let's see. We have any specific brand of oil. Oh, in terms of olive oil, well, I like the Spanish brands, actually. I like them because there is a lot of controls in the European Union in terms of the production of oil, and Spain is extremely picky about the olive oils. So I really enjoy a particular brand. I like one that is called Castillo de Tabernas. It's a wonderful, it has about 4 different types of olives, and they produce 4 different kinds of oils. And what I like about them is that they give you a date when they send you the olive oil. They say, well, this was produced in January 2021, or this is from the fall or of June or August, September of 2020. So you know that it is fresh, that you need to consume it fast. And one of the things that I like is it comes also in dark bottles. So when you buy an olive oil, maybe a dark bottle like this is a good thing, because again, the sunlight will deteriorate the olive oil. So when you buy here, sometimes olive oil in plastic bottles that are very light, I don't like it. I like to buy my olive oil in glass bottles. So my husband family, actually in Lebanon, they have a little olive chart, and they produce olive oil. So we are kind of crazy about olive oil. We like it a lot. And this dish in particular, mjedra, my husband talks about this as one of the dishes that they used to eat a lot during the war, because, well, meat was scarce. And during the Ottoman Empire, when Lebanon was part of the Ottoman Empire, the Turks sometimes didn't allow the Lebanese people to retain some of the products. So whatever was left was lentils and rice and burgo wheat and potatoes and veggies. And that's why a lot of the Mediterranean diet, at least the one in that area, and Lebanon has a lot of vegan dishes. So we love our veggies here too. So look, the onions are becoming translucent. They still need a lot more love. So let's see how this one is going, the other dish that we're making. Oh, it's looking good. That is looking good. Let's see if we can get a look at the other pot. Mm. I wish you could smell this. So at this point, you know, I'm gonna take a little spoon and kind of taste that. Mm. It is good. And it doesn't need any salt at all. One of the things that I learned in culinary school is that celery, as well as lemon juice, it lends a flavor of salt without being salt to any meal. So I love to add a lot of celery in my chicken noodle soup. And in this one, it's just, it does magic to it. So my grandmother used to make this, but I never learned how. Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, great. I like that's, yeah, Linda. Well, I'm glad that I'm bringing some good memories and traditions. Yeah. So now you know. So we're waiting on the onions. I'm gonna start adding now the rice. I always like to give my rice a little roasting or toasting. It just gets a really nice nutty flavor. So even, you know, when I make other kinds of rice, I always like to saute it a little bit because it doesn't get all clumped up. It becomes, you know, very fluffy. So we're getting there. I can see those onions now getting darker. We're gonna add, you know, we're using now half a cup of rice and half a cup of lentils. So we're gonna add about 2 to 3 cups of water because, you know, brown rice requires a lot more water than your white rice. And let's talk about whole grains now, because this is really, really important. Why are we using brown rice instead of white? And why I like to use brown rice at home also? Because it has everything from the grain. You know, we haven't removed the bran and the endosperm, so it has everything. And it's just, you know, when we eat white rice, we're basically eating only the starch. We're not eating any fiber. We basically took away all the nutritional value of the rice. And the same goes for the wheat, for, you know, for rice, for wheat. So when we make bread with only white bleach on top of that, flours, well, we're not getting much nutritional value there. We're just getting simple carbohydrates that not even fill us up, because after we eat a slice of white bread at the end, you know, it gets digested and becomes sugar immediately. So when we eat whole grains and whole wheat and you know, whole oats, then we are adding all that extra fiber that takes a long time to digest, so it keeps our tummy full, and it just lends a lot more nutrients. So we already sauteed this. It's looking really, really good in here. I'm gonna get my water now. And again, look at that. That's sizzling in there. Isn't that beautiful? I think it is. I like it. So let's, yeah. And maybe now is a good time to put a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, or a little bit more. I love pepper. So a little bit of salt, and let's get a clean spoon. Let's mix it. Let's add some black pepper. And the recipe calls also for a little bit of cinnamon. And I love that warm flavor of spices, you know, cinnamon. I love nutmeg. I love allspice. It's just wonderful. It gives so much flavor. So I know that maybe cinnamon is not everyone likes it on savory dishes, but I really encourage you to give it a try because it works really well. The mixture with the lentils and the rice and the fried onions it's lovely. So we're gonna get a little pinch of cinnamon. If you don't have ground cinnamon and you only have the little stick, you can dump a little stick there with the water and it will do just the same. If you want to add another spice that you like, be my guest. You know, I always tell people when you cook, you need to find what you like. You know, I might like something and you might like something else. And that is okay. You can make all of these recipes your own, what your family likes. That is what is important. It's not what Chef Dubraska likes, but you know, if you keep the ingredients correct and you just change little things, tweak little things here and there, well, you probably will end up with a better dish, maybe. So let's see. I love this. I really love it. So let's try and see. Like it peppery. I like spicy food. I don't know you guys, but I do. Maybe a little pinch more of salt because rice and lentils, but that's it. We're done. We're gonna put the lid on and let get some flavor in there. Let's see, is there a type of salt that has a stronger salt taste than others? Well, I find kosher salt to be very nice and like a very even flavor. I like that it dissolves very nicely, and that's what I usually use. But I love also the pink salt from the Himalayas. It has that color because it's not made from the sea. It's a mine. Has a lot of probably copper in it. That's why the color. I also, you know, for decoration, when you are doing like a fancy dish, I like to use like rock salt sometimes just to put on top of steaks, or black salt is delicious. Obviously, it is important that we use a little bit of iodized salt. You know, that's why it is in there. We need to supply that, but we don't need tons of salt on our food. So yes, I use different salt, and yes, I do like kosher salt a lot. It's probably my favorite. Any other question there? Can we start maybe plating this wonderful dish? Maybe see? Okay, let's talk about little additions that we can do to our dishes that I really like. You know, we can always have little accents of our dishes. So I have here a couple of herbs that I would like to add to our dish. To some, or we can even add them to both of them. I have scallions, green onions here. They just give very good flavor to soups. I have also here parsley, which would be very nice. This is flat parsley on the soup. And we have here some crushed red pepper. Like I told you, for the kushari that we're making, usually they make a little spicy sauce in Egypt and they drop it on top of the dish once it is served. So to get that effect, we're gonna add these red pepper flakes. So that will be wonderful. But for our soup, I want to add a little bit of chopped green onions and some parsley. So let's teach a little bit about how to chop some herbs. You know, for parsley, I like to, take only the leaves. So we discard the stems. And these stems, I don't throw them away. You know, I am from from that generation where, you know, you find a use for everything. And by the way, when you make a chicken stock or any stock, you put some of these parsley stems, and it just adds a very nice flavor and perfume to your homemade stock. Another thing that I wanted to tell you is, even for the chicken soup that we're making, or the bean and chicken soup, you could, if you want it a little bit richer, you can use obviously some chicken broth. In that case, I recommend that you use a low sodium one, or if you are like me, that, you know, you reserve all your bones and you make stocks, well, use maybe a homemade one. So that's in case you want to add a little bit more. I think our stew is getting a little bit, it has reduced quite a bit, so I'm gonna add a little bit more water, okay? Remember, we always use some common sense. And another good thing is, because I love that olive oil, at the end, when I serve my stew, I like to just add just a little few drops of olive oil on that plate. The same here. It just makes the dish, it takes the dish to a different level. I mean, I don't recommend that you put a whole tablespoon in there, because, you know, that defeats the purpose, but, you know, a little bit, little drops, a few drops is okay. So maybe you put less during the cooking part, and then you leave some. And why I like to do that, because when you eat raw olive oil, there is a lot more nutritional value there. You haven't oxidized, the oil is pure, and it has all those good things that we want to get from it. So we took only the leaves, we make a little bundle, and then we go rocking movement. Hey. And if it's possible, make sure that you dry your leaves before you go into chopping them. Bear claw. Look, just looks so pretty. And that's it. You know, it's not difficult. Just takes a little bit of practice to get the hang of the bear claw and the rocking movement, but it's well worth it. Oh, any cost-effective Middle Eastern desserts? Yes, yes, yes. We can make some with a rice, with the rice flour that I like. It's like a pudding, and then you put some pistachios on top. And I always keep at home rose water and orange blossom water, and with that you flavor a little syrup, and then you add that, or you can add it straight to the rice pudding, and it's fabulous. Oh my goodness, talk about goodness. Or you can use also, instead of rice flour, I mean, rice pudding is another thing that they make a lot in the Middle East. It's a very inexpensive one. And then if you don't want, to spend the money on the pistachios, you can add other nuts if you wish, or just, a little bit of plain cinnamon. That will do really, really well. Another one that I like to do a lot is semolina, like the one you use for polenta. Then you cook that with some milk and very little sugar, and then you chop some bananas, and then you maybe put a little bit of light cream, or even if you are like yogurt, and then again, pistachios. Most of the Middle Eastern desserts have nuts. It's just part of the culture. Okay, we already have minced parsley here. Look how small it is. Yes. And if you want it even smaller, you can go further. Let's chop some of these green onions, the scallions. I'm going to take the tips because they don't look very well. Let's put them here. We can use that for later. We don't need to waste. I'm from the zero waste philosophy. So I believe that things have uses for, they can be for flavoring a soup. Look. And then I like to cut them in a 45-degree angle because they look prettier. And we like pretty when we eat. Okay. Let's see if we have more questions. Well, let's see if we can start plating this. Let me get a couple of nice plates and let's figure this one out. This smells wonderful. I wish you were here. The lentils probably will take a little longer. I'm gonna shut off the bean soup because that's ready and it didn't take us very long. I know time is of the essence, and so we're gonna get this quickly plated. You see this here. Let me go ahead and get my ladle. And you can see here, we have a nice, beautiful plate, and it even looks fancy. So we can make it look as nice as we want and as fancy as we want. So and let's do this. Little bit of parsley. Beautiful. I like Parmesan cheese. So if you have basil leaves, oh, that would be wonderful. Little bit of Parmesan cheese. Hey, look how pretty that is, huh? Don't you think it's pretty? I think so. And maybe a few scallions. There you go. Look how beautiful. There you go. And look. For those who ask me if this was good for freezing, look, this is the one I made a few days ago, just as a practice. And I want to show you. With this, it was in the freezer. I took it out. Somehow the tomatoes the soup became thicker. So look how wonderful that is. So I'm gonna also put a little bit of parsley on that one. Hey, little bit of Parmesan cheese. Yeah. And we're gonna taste these babies now. And some scallops. What do you guys think? And this is the time of truth. Let's go for it. This is delicious. Just a tiny touch of Parmesan cheese. And if we drop a few drops of olive oil, I'm telling you, we get there even better. because we also are short in time, I have here some of that delicious kushari. And one of the things that they do in the Middle East is they reserve some of those fried onions that we did at the beginning. And I probably should have done that, but I forgot. So we can put some of those fried onions on top as a decoration, but also as additional flavor. So we're gonna splash a little bit of this, little bit of red pepper flakes. You know, it just looks pretty. And we're gonna add some scallions because, well, we're just adding more onion flavor. And look, oh my goodness, doesn't it look pretty? And let's taste that as well. So I want you to see how it's looking now in the pot. I'm gonna add a little bit more water because the rice still looks hard and it's getting way too dry. But the smell here is unbelievable. So we're gonna let it keep going. And we're gonna try the one. I already tried it, but I'm gonna tease you guys now. My kids love it, by the way. This has a very meaty flavor, which I really enjoy. It's very nice. This with just a salad, a nice cucumber, tomato, and maybe lettuce with red wine vinegar. It's a wonderful lunch or dinner dish. I really love this. And during my pregnancies with my kids, I used to eat a lot of this. So yummy. It is so good that you could eat it cold. Many of the vegetarian dishes in the Middle East, actually, they're eaten room temperature. They're not eaten hot. Like, you know, we also make some Lebanese green beans that are just tomato, onions, green beans, and olive oil, black pepper. That's it. And they are more delicious when they are cold than when they are warm. I really love the time we spent together. I think when you go through hardships like the 1930s or any hardship in life, I think it just teaches you to be more resourceful. I am very happy that we have more means now in this time and age, that probably we don't have the same limitation that we did in the 1930s, but we are going now through a period that is very difficult. And I think it's very important. Many families probably are without jobs or trying to expand their income. And I think any of those dishes, any of these meals will help save the day, keep yourself healthy. Is something that you can share with your family, with your children. Let them participate in the kitchen. They might not be chopping. They can be washing the dishes or measuring the things or helping you plate or set the table. Just include everyone. That's what I've been doing all these years with my children. And now during this time of pandemic, it's been wonderful because they are even more involved in all of this. They just love being part of the kitchen. So I thank the Harris County Library for the opportunity, and I thank Common Threads for trusting me with this class. And I hope that you take the minute time that will only take to do the survey. So please, it will take, I promise you, less than a minute. Go. And also, please check our website, Common Bites. It has wonderful, more recipes just like this. And I hope to be back with you in the next weeks. Thank you so much. And back to you, Taylor.